update meeting. Meeting with legislators this morning. So it's Friday, April 18th, 7:30 a.m. And I guess I should get a list here. So yeah, good morning, Doug. I see you on here, and we can watch our list, see who's joining us this morning.
Well, I see Representative Levy right on the front page.
Okay. So as I say, are there any updates from the commissioners? One note, I was able to attend the Oregon Prepared Conference, which is Oregon emergency management, emergency managers from counties and different organizations meeting in Sun River this week. Spoke about Core 3 yesterday with DHS and Shelby Knight was there, worked out real well. Real positive. People are engaged in understanding the concept of having somewhere to go if Cascadia event happens, but also the support of training facilities for police and fire locally. So went real well. Yeah, are there any other updates from commissioners to get started?
It's Commissioner Adair. Can you hear me?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Yes, it's 37 and warming up. No, I wanted to just make a note that the swatting bill I heard was killed when I was in Salem on Monday. It had bipartisan support, and we had a really powerful letter from our DA regarding that legislation, and I'm really sorry to hear that that's what's happened to that bill. So the swatting bill.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for that update. I don't know if there's anybody can mention that. So, and as I say, looking at the list, is Commissioner Chang with us? Yep, I see. So good morning. So we got all three commissioners, and if Emerson Levy or staff, I'm not sure at this time. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'll just give a brief update of what we are working on and where we are after the first chamber deadline. I think for most people on this call wondering where we are with the foreclosure stuff, we're only a part on one issue, and that's the assessors part, the assessment part. Otherwise, we were able to come to an agreement on pretty much every other issue. So that is what I will be working on this weekend, trying to get the other side to a workable position. And then we should be sending it to the drafters, and hopefully we won't have to talk about it ever again.
Is there anything we can help with to advocate for?
I know. I mean, you guys have done a great job. This is just that we're at the final 10% to get across the finish line, and just trying to come to an agreement. And poor Rep. Reschke's had to deal with this too for a year and a half now in front of his committee. So we are close. I'm hoping to be done this weekend with it. The other bill that I'll note that's important for the county is the battery recycling bill, which should hopefully help with the fires. That is sitting in Ways and Means, and we got it out of committee with the bipartisan support. I think the fact that it doesn't cost the consumer money and it helps counties manage fires is really helpful. And from just my perspective, chairing the natural resources, the next part is just going through priority bills and seeing what we have money to fund. So.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I know it's like sprinting through a marathon at the legislature, so thank you for what you're doing.
Representative Levy, I just wanted to express appreciation for working on these issues that are so important to Deschutes County, even though they're not the big, flashy, high-profile bills. Both of the things that you mentioned are really critical to our services and keeping our community safe and functioning. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Commissioner. I don't like flashy. I will say one other bill I forgot about was the Deschutes Water Bank. That is also sitting in Ways and Means, and it has like a kind of funky fiscal, but I am working with LFO and we will get that all sorted out. So
Robert Tintle is our CFO. He's got his hand raised.
Thank you. Yes, I just want to add, Representative Levy, thank you for all your work on this bill. You've been working a lot with Eric Kanzler, Osaka, and the team, and we've been providing input as well. So thank you. When you say we're 10% there, I do have one specific question on there, because one of the biggest issues for tax collectors is the requirement for the notices, as it's been written in the previous amendments, was at the beginning of the process instead of at the 1-year redemption mark.
We're
Again,
moving to 1-year redemption mark.
okay, thank you. That's going to make a lot of people happy.
That whole section is going to look different, right? So, right, it's got 60, 100 days before, like that's all going to be cleaned up.
Okay, perfect. Thank you again for all your work on that.
Great. Good information we're sharing already this morning. So, okay, well, thank you for the update. And thank you for taking time for our Deschutes County proper issues here. So Representative Reschke's also joined us.
Good morning, and thanks for having me. Sitting on revenue, yes, we have the assessor's bill, or the property foreclosure bill, however you want to look at it. And we also have an assessor's bill as well to fund assessors. So that's kind of sitting on the platform, waiting for something to happen to it. Also, we're dealing with the wildfire funding bill just came to us, and not quite sure when we'll deal with that. Up this week, on Thursday, will be discussion about timber taxes. There'll be the standard harvest tax, which has 6 taxes inside of it that we typically pass, and then a competing idea that we see every 2 years, which is the severance tax. Ways and Means is starting to do budgets now. So budgets, are the small ones at least, are starting to pass and move forward. And a lot of time on the floor yesterday, this week actually. It was fun sitting there for 6 hours and then getting in my car and driving for 5 hours to get home. So long days. Probably the thing that is, things will kind of plod along and move along until we get to the revenue forecast in mid-May here. And when that happens, then things will move pretty quickly, and the cement will start to dry, the cake will be baked, and out everything will come. But it's all dependent on the revenue forecast. And from talking with the Legislative Revenue Office, we'll probably end this fiscal year close to what was estimated or up a little bit. I think the big question is what do the forecasters see going forward for the next 2 and 4 years?
Yeah, and I think Doug Riggs has pointed out that contingency will be the plan. It's like whatever you think might happen, make sure there's some kind of contingency in the funding scenarios, right, which could make it a little bit more conservative, so there can be variables in that mid-session.
Sure. Yeah.
Commissioner Chang.
Thanks for your work on all of those bills, Representative Reschke. I wanted to ask a little bit more about the wildfire funding package. So we've known for a number of years that the current rate schedule is putting the squeeze on rural range landowners. We saw last year that without adequate revenue sources for wildfire, we had to pull $218 million out of the general fund to cover our debts at the end of the wildfire season. So I would love to hear from your perspective what you think the potential new or specified revenue sources are that can help us close the gap and ensure that we can provide that rate relief for some of our rural property owners.
Yeah, great question. Thank you, Commissioner Chang. So the bill just got to revenue. It's been in a policy committee most of the time. I haven't followed it that closely, and there's been a work group that's been working on it as well. So the other Representative Levy, Bobby Levy, has been on that group along with Representative John Lively from Springfield. Those have been the 2 legislative liaisons on that committee. But from what I've briefly taken a look at it, it's going to capture what's called the retaliatory tax. And this is a tax that insurance companies from out of state pay. And it's about $140 million. Typically, that just goes to the general fund. But this bill, I believe, captures that and says, no, we're going to dedicate that to wildfire funding. And there's some other sources in the bill. The one controversial source is a bottle bill tax, an extra 5 cents per bottle that would go. And so that's that's kind of the big hang up right now. So if you take that away, what do you replace it with? So I think that's going to be the biggest discussion in revenue, as well as is the final number large enough for the governor to sign?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you for the specifics.
Commissioner, I see that Reagan Knope, who is Representative Levy's staff, has joined us as well.
We also have Senator McLean on too. I wanted to flag that.
Yes, there's Senator McLean as well. Yeah.
Great. Well,
Reagan's
Senator,
with Breeze Iverson.
yeah, Reagan with Breeze Iverson. Yep. Senator McLean, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
I know it's early after a long day yesterday. We've heard about that. Thank you for joining us. Stay 7:40 in the morning.
Well, what can I update you on? Let's just go to questions.
Maybe just the tenor of what's going on. I know, I'm just thinking through the process. Right now it is that crossover time. Things are starting to gel about what might move. So any big picture items there?
It's hard to say. I think some of the things that I'm tracking for my district are like Senate Bill 780, Senate Bill 777. Those are county fair funding, the wolf compensation. There's just some good government bills, but my committees are revenue in the Senate, which of course is JV, because the revenue committee in the House, I think, is varsity under our Constitution. So, and then the Judiciary Committee and Ways and Means Capital Construction Committee I have at 8 this morning. So we're just I've been going through a lot of looking at the capital constructions requests. I live a remarkably boring existence on my committee, so I don't really have any interesting updates, I don't think, but I'm happy to answer any questions or just, pontificate at great length about higher justice issues and things like that.
Commissioner Chang may have something.
Senator McLean, we saw a lot of work in the last few years on the interface between public safety and behavioral health on substance use disorders and addiction. I'm wondering, we saw the deflection program come out of that and a number of other things. I'm wondering if you have any perspective on how we're going to continue that work, what the tools and the resources might look like in the next biennium, or whether we're sort of staying the course.
I haven't seen, Commissioner Chang, any significant legislation coming out. Maybe it has in the House, and we just haven't seen it in the Senate, but a lot of stuff's down in Ways and Means, to be frank, and it's bottlenecked down there. I think if anything has a fiscal, it goes to Ways and Means, and the co-chairs haven't really been moving anything out of Ways and Means. I think their concern is about how much general fund. So I wish I could provide more information. I know in the Senate Judiciary, we've had some committees went over topics. The other day, we were talking about the Department of Corrections and some of the treatment programs in the women's prison, Coffee Creek. Kind of was a lively debate because the committee members weren't free to really ask questions without management of the co-chairs, which made the co-chairs look like they were trying to protect the status quo as opposed to allowing members to actually dig into some of the details. And I think the GIPA report, which is gender-informed practices and other things, were quite shocking. And one of the issues of mental health, at least inside the Coffee Creek, is that it's not really been addressed at the way the legislature and others wanted to fund it. And so when those folks come back to Deschutes County or in our community, they're really not in the position they should be. But at any event, that's my only impact with that. We've lots just been sent to Ways and Means. Wish I had more details.
Thank you for that. And I guess I would just say, for any of our legislators who haven't been tracking the way the deflection program has worked in Deschutes County, we would love to, provide more information about that and sort of strut our stuff. We have, in my opinion, we have done a great job in Deschutes County with rolling out deflection, kind of Deschutes County style, since we were given a significant amount of leeway in designing the program. And it's shown, some significant progress and success in, just these first 7 to 8 months of work. So if anyone would like to learn more about that, going into the Ways and Means discussions that are going to come in a few weeks, please let us know.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Representative Reschke has your hand raised.
I do. Thank you very much. And Commissioner Chang, I'd like to come up and take a look at that. So during session, probably not, but after session, I think maybe Doug could schedule something for legislators to come up for a morning or an afternoon or something like that, and just kind of see what's going on the ground. I think that'd be highly beneficial.
Well, it's open 24 hours, so it could be at any time.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you.
Great conversation on that. Yes. Okay. Well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for being ready to be in this next hearing. You're going to be in at 8 o'clock. So we'll go from there. And then Representative Breeze Iverson's office, Reagan Knope.
Thanks for having us, and appreciate and just want to echo everything that's already been said by many of these fine representatives. And though I don't work for Representative Levy, I enjoy working with Representative Levy and have for the last 2 sessions. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about, and Representative Breeze Iverson is sorry that she can't be here, but she did ask me to share that we're continuing to work together with the Central Oregon delegation as our Central Oregon caucus, building a priorities list, advocating for those priorities. A couple of them, Core 3 and Juniper, are both down in Ways and Means. As Senator McClain noted, a lot of stuff is now down in Ways and Means, and it will indeed be a while before they make a decision about what gets to escape and how big the haircuts are, because most bills, I think, coming out of Ways and Means will have amendments, and those amendments are usually to specify where the sources of funds are coming from, and they usually do include a significant haircut. So we'll be watching for that and advocating for key Central Oregon priorities and Ways and Means. And we've done some of that as well with Co-Chair Levy in the Natural Resource Subcommittee. She's running a very good process in terms of getting input from the members of that committee to give input on what natural resource budgets are going to look like. And then also I wanted to express appreciation to Commissioner Adair. She came to Salem to testify in support of the rural housing legislation, Build Oregon Rural Housing Now, for House Bill 3928 from Representative Breeze Iverson. And though that bill did not move forward this session, we will likely be working on that concept in the interim and bringing it back. So thank you, Commissioner Adair. And then I think that's basically it from my standpoint. So we kind of move into a different kind of phase of session now. The first phase with the first chamber deadline is all about committees and going through the many bills. Now we have to vote on a lot of those. Something like 300 bills are going through the House floor. I think we're a little over 225 and we got about 75 left maybe. So they've been doing what we call super floor. So instead of just doing an hour and a half or 2 hours of floor a day, they'll cancel afternoon committees and we'll go for either till 4 or 5. And so that's been taking up a good chunk of the schedule, at least on the House side of the ledger.
Thank you for that sense of place and what's going on in the legislative session. Just taking a moment, acknowledging we've got 20-something of the department heads and leaders of Deschutes County on this call, and it's great to have everybody just compare notes. Commissioner Adair.
Yes, I just wanted to say, I know it's going for a vote in the House, the unemployment for people that are striking. And as I suggested to Jason Croft's office the other day, it would be really lovely if we'd see what happens in Washington State. They could be the guinea pig for this, because I feel like there are a lot of other things happening here in Oregon that we need to clean up, and going that direction this year is really, it's poor timing. So let's let Washington State do it first. Thanks.
Good. Thank you for that, Commissioner. Okay, well, any other thoughts, Doug, Riggs, or anybody, any department heads?
No, I just want to express appreciation for you guys being here early in the morning. This is super helpful. You raised some points on bills that we were tracking and a couple of notes that I made about things I want to follow up on. And we'll, Representative Reschke will certainly take advantage of your offer to host a deflection tour. I think the Addictions Committee has been impressed by the job our staff and the team in Central Oregon has done collaboratively working on that. And we'd be happy to showcase it after the session. So just want to thank everyone for being here this morning.
Yeah, thank you. Well, so this is our legislative roundtable, half hour before our legislative update meeting, Deschutes County proper. So we can just take a 10-minute break here and reconvene at the top of the hour. And want to thank everybody who has joined us from the legislature, and thank what you're doing out there. It is a marathon, and you're sprinting through it, is my thought of the day. So thank you. So at this time, this meeting will be adjourned. We'll reconvene at 8 o'clock. Okay, good morning. So this is our follow-on second meeting today. This is Deschutes County Legislative meeting for Friday, April 18th at 8 o'clock. So welcome, everyone. Any other commissioner updates? As I say, my thought is this is that transition time, and for all the department heads, please help me with thoughts and priorities of what's going on in your world too. So let's make sure to think through that. If anybody really has some, stuff on the near horizon that we can be putting into the priority list here. I know it's a lot to all digest at once, because anything could happen at the legislature. So any other thoughts from commissioners?
I'll just share that I was in Salem all day Monday and Tuesday, did a little bit of AOC stuff, but then spent the majority of the time making the rounds with, I think I made about 10 visits total to representatives and senators, and talked about everything from housing to public health and behavioral health to water to wildfire funding to wolves. I would report back for health services staff that I spent a good chunk of time with the co-chair of the Ways and Means Health and Human Services Subcommittee, and that was a really positive discussion. I don't see any of those staff here, so I'm not going to worry about going into details. Talked with a number of legislators about housing, infrastructure funding, condo liability reform, stabilization for people who, for renters who are on the verge of eviction, shelter operations funding, and one specific housing discussion I had that I'll mention is tracking that discussion about House Bill 3928 last week. I went looking for Representative Marsh, who's the chair of the House Housing Committee, and just wanted to let her know that I was interested in this idea of a mobile home park work group. And she said, well, it's not really, what's coming out of that bill is not exactly a mobile home park work group. But I shared with her the staff memo that staff put together for us a number of years ago about mobile home parks, RV parks, and campgrounds, and just kind of the land use pathway for those, and kind of what the real bottlenecks are, which are things like, septic capacity and investments and things like that. And she was really interested in that. She shared that her district, when she was first elected, her district had the kind of reputation of being the district with the most mobile home parks and mobile home park housing slots in the whole state. And then after the Almeda fire, they were no longer the top mobile home park district in the state of Oregon. So that was I think that there's an opportunity there to work with, if Representative Marsh is the chair of the Housing Committee again next year, I think there's an opportunity there to really focus in on mobile home parks and what we can do to have the legislature support and enable the production of more mobile home parks for our community. Yeah, spent a lot of time talking with legislators about that Senate Bill 1154. We debunked a lot of the misinformation that's going out about that bill. There's been people saying that the state is going to come onto their property to meter their wells, which is not a thing. Senator Nash, he said, yeah, there was a lot of misinformation in that hearing, because I attended the hearing for the bill. But I just really wanted to emphasize to them that we have all of these legislators, that we have the opportunity to get ahead of our groundwater management area designation in South County. We're not there yet. And if we do the right things, we can avoid getting there. And this groundwater area of concern designation that's part of Senate Bill 1154 is a real opportunity for us in many ways to do more proactive voluntary work ahead of a GWAMA designation. And they appreciate that. It sounds like some of the things that are most contentious about Senate Bill 1154 are actually the provisions that are that do affect areas that have hit the GWAMA designation already, and people are concerned about those being heavy-handed measures. And so I just said to them, if that's going to drag this bill down, I hope you could consider splitting out the stuff that the proactive work before the GWAMA designation, and keep that moving for us, because we could really use those tools and that pathway to funding for implementation. Well, that's there was a lot to say, but that's probably enough for now.
Great, thank you very much for the update. Okay, so yeah, Doug Riggs, I guess at this point in time. What are you seeing this week?
Yeah, it was a crazy week in the Capitol for different reasons than last week. Last week it was crazy because it was the bill deadline, and there were many hearings running late into the night. Many of them got fairly controversial, and it was difficult for committees to get everything out. And in some cases, they just ran out of time. Senate Human Services, for instance, ran out of time on a couple of their bills that died. The other complicating factor was that there is a new, or maybe either a decision by legislative council that is gaining traction occasionally to prevent legislators from putting appropriations in bills that include policy, which is not something that most of us in the building have seen. And it's being was imposed on some bills. And so some bills died because at the very last minute, legislative council said, your bill, which tells an agency to do X, Y, and Z, also includes an appropriations for them to be able to do X, Y, and Z, and you can't do that. And they pointed to Article 2, Section 7 of the Oregon Constitution. So that, just so you know, there's some debate on that issue, and it did hold up some bills. Didn't hold up any of the bills that we were focused on. So last week was committees. This week was all about the floor. As a couple of our representatives mentioned, the Senate and House floors have both been very busy. They're trying to pass the bills off the floor and get them to the other chamber. There's quite a backlog. There were, I think, 5 or 6 hours in a row of debate on just 2 bills in the House yesterday. One was a bill on climate education in K through 12 schools, and that, as you might imagine, drew quite a bit of discussion. So the House is behind, and they've announced that they may start having evening hearings and maybe even weekend sessions next week. So we'll see where that goes. Other than that, a lot of the bills that we're tracking are in a holding pattern. Senate Bill 83, which is the wildfire bill, is down at Ways and Means. It's in a holding pattern until Ways and Means has the time to focus on it. And that will occur over the next several weeks. The funding mechanisms for wildfires are down at the Revenue Committee right now, as Representative Grechke noted. Those are things that will take several weeks to iron out, and then those two will have to be molded back together at a later point in the session. Another big issue is the transportation package, which we talked about extensively last week. We're still waiting on the accountability measures and package to be released. This is the 3rd week in a row we were told that something might come out. Nothing has come out. I think that's a key element to trying to get some bipartisan support for the package. You know, what kind of contractual reforms, administrative reforms, oversight, timelines, deadlines, what types of things might be proposed by the legislature. So that has not come up yet either, but I know quite a bit of work is going on behind the scenes. So I think I'll stop there. Never a dull moment in Salem, and next week I'm sure we'll bring new surprises.
Yeah, thank you very much. So
Doug, for the the transportation package accountability measures, do you know whether the report that was ordered has come back yet? Kind of the additional audit type report?
I don't know if that's come back, Commissioner. I know there were 2 things. There was kind of a series of questions that the legislature asked ODOT to answer, and have state auditors looking into those questions. The committee has also hired some outside experts, some people with experience from other states who've also been digging into, you know, how did the Abernathy Bridge quadruple in price in 4 years? How did the Rose Quarter, you know, triple in price in 3 years? And why weren't the oversight groups of the OTC and the legislature notified earlier of these cost overruns, and then the overestimation of federal revenues? So those are the types of questions that I think are in the process of being answered. When I've asked those questions of the legislators who I know are working on that, I get cagey responses. I think they are, you know, spending many late evenings and weekends digging into this information, and that's so there's probably a reason why we haven't seen anything yet. I think they want to come up with a package that assures legislators that if we allocate another $1.9 billion, the money will actually be spent efficiently and effectively.
Thanks for that. Yeah, I when I was not this most recent visit to Salem, but when I was there last month, I went with the specific focus to talk to people about transportation, and that was shortly after that Statesman Journal article had come out, and the problem was that many of the problems that the Statesman Journal article had called attention to were things that had been issues in the last few years, but had actually already been fixed. So, the federal funding forecasting, error that had been repaired already. Kind of the way that they model the federal revenue and the flow through of that had already been fixed. And so, when I talked to Senator Starr, and I said, well, what, in terms of accountability, what do you think we need to do? What more do you think we need to do moving forward? and he really he had to think about it for a long time, and he didn't have a lot of new things to add at that moment. But he did say that he was really looking forward to some of these studies. It does seem like the real question that still needs to be answered, there's a lot of things that have already been addressed, but it seems like the thing that really still needs to be answered is, how do you explain these huge cost increases for some of these major projects, and how do you mitigate against that happening in the future? We have our own large capital projects that have experienced, supply chain shortages, workforce, labor rate inflation, all kinds of stuff, where we've seen, 2 or 3 time, cost increases for projects. And so I'm curious. I'll be really curious to see whether they actually come up with anything, but besides, don't have a global pandemic again in the future.
Yeah, I think that from a legislative standpoint, what I've heard back time and time again is that they feel like they were not kept up to date and up to speed on a regular basis. Like they directed in House Bill 2017, they were pretty clear. I remember being in the work sessions and the hearings. They were pretty clear to ODOT, this money needs to get out on time. We need to accelerate our contracting process, because otherwise inflation eats up the funding that we're allocating to you. Change orders need to be reviewed and not automatically approved. We need to bring in outside experts. All the same things that they're saying now to ODOT were things that they instructed ODOT to do in 2017. So there really is a question of whether or not, just asking and telling ODOT to do something is sufficient. And how do you put in a structure that automatically requires and mandates better accountability for the tax dollars? I think that's what they're really going to have to focus on, because ODOT clearly did not comply with earlier requests by the legislature to either be transparent and timely with their reports, or be efficient in managing projects. So.
Yeah, thanks for that insight. Well, that's something for me to watch with one of my other hats on.
Commissioner Dare.
Yes, I have the ACT meeting in Kaiser next Wednesday, and because that 1.1 billion that went on their financials, that is never going to be there because it never really did exist. I really feel that was so significant. They, as Doug said, they really need to be incredibly more accountable for what they're doing. And I really appreciated that Chris Doty, I believe he's on the call today, maybe back from vacation, said to ODOT, what we do our maintenance first, and then we work on our plans. And really, I feel there's so many potholes that I drive on around all the state roads. It's unbelievable how they keep up with. They don't keep up over here anyway. We have hundreds of miles here, and it's really indicative that they need a new direction. And actually, I recommended to Chris a couple of years ago, why don't you go work for ODOT? Because I really feel like his leadership could be really. And he doesn't like that idea, but I think it's, I think, as an overall driver of thousands of miles, I would love to have someone in charge that actually, yes, Chris, don't laugh. Anyway, that's just my my next Wednesday meeting.
So that's getting all the coax together, or the region?
Yes, it's the state meeting. It should be fascinating.
Yeah. Well, this is a transportation bill year, that's for sure. So let's see what we can do to get some money flowing and maintenance happening. And then those, as I say, the big capital projects are the ones that really consume a lot of resources also. And we do have a bridge that's partially completed in southern Deschutes County, remember, that should be on that queue somewhere for capital projects.
That's not going to be in there unless somebody starts to do some advocacy. They're not adding any new capital projects. I mean, it'll be interesting to see whether all the commitments that were made originally under House Bill 2017 that aren't done yet come out the other end as still part of the package. This is a package that's focused on operation and maintenance, which it should be. Although I want to see the South County intersection improvement happen as well, but it's not a lots of new capital projects bill.
Well, it's an existing project that's, partially completed and halted and a lot more expensive than expected now.
Yeah, and the money that was set aside to do that project is spent.
Okay, so at this time, we can just go through our bill list. I think not a whole lot there today. Jen, if you're available, maybe you can kick us off.
I'm available.
There we go.
And I'll just say I sent the version 2 out yesterday evening. I think OLIS and bill tracker technology are not quite talking to each other. And so the original strike through list I had was inaccurate. So I will say, we do know that there's bills on this bill tracker report that are dead and not going forward, but until we have that confirmed through OLIS, we're just gonna leave everything on here as is.
April
Doing
8th,
that, we have one new bill to discuss today. It's on page 5. It's 3499. Sorry. HB 3499, I think, on page 5, the second bill, and Peter Gutowski is here to talk about it, and I think Nick can also provide some insight if need be.
Thanks, Jen. Commissioners, good morning. Nick was alerted to this bill last week. I was happy to just get it into the queue for your consideration today. It pertains to urban renewal plans. If the legislation was adopted, urban renewal plans would not be able to be approved by the local government that is considering it, and through their own, through their elected officials. Instead, it would have to go to the voters for consideration. So anyway, whether it's a priority 1 or priority 2, it warranted your consideration, just given the fact that it would take out the kind of representative aspect of these types of authorizations at the local level and put it before the voters. So wanted to bring it to your attention. Nick, you may have more perspective. I did let Steve Denizen know that this bill was introduced. He's tracking it and is aware of what that would mean to the extent that legislation was passed on the county clerk's office. So that's my overview. But again, Nick, you may have more to offer as well.
Thanks, Peter. I'll just turn it right back over to Doug immediately, because he's the one that alerted me and others to it.
Yeah, this is a bill introduced by Representative Christine Drazen, who was the Republican nominee for governor the last time around. It was suggested to her by a Canby City Council member. She, I think, was a little bit surprised it got a hearing. It's in the Rules Committee. It had a hearing this last weekend. There was strong opposition from municipal, city, and county folks. It would probably make urban renewal almost impossible in many cases, and would delay projects. Remember, the urban renewal often takes the tax increment from a development in a new area to pay for important projects like infrastructure, to ensure that the cost of the infrastructure isn't on the existing residents of the city, but it is on the new development that takes place. That's often how it's used. So I'm not sure the bill is going to go anyplace. The House Rules Committee has an awful lot on their plate. It is something to keep an eye on. There is some suggestion that there might be a work group during the interim. That's all I know.
So what I think of tax increment financing, urban renewal like this, the words and the history is taking a blighted area and reinvesting in it, right? Something that has been developed in the past, bringing it back up to a vibrant, newer style development. It's being utilized for undeveloped areas inside the cities. And we saw the individual parcel tax increment financing proposal in front of us from the city of Bend recently. It adds up over time. When you do a 30-year TIF, there's a lot of money on the table that is decided by a city council, which is just, the overhead of future needs are being spread out a little bit more by everybody else who has individual properties with tax bills. So I could generally support this. I would maybe propose a 2 support. Nothing to get real rowdy about right now, but just taking a position, and that's a proposal from myself.
I think we need to recall that some really important projects like, South 97 corridor in Redmond are being funded with this funding mechanism. And I would hesitate to put us in between the cities and these funding tools to do really important infrastructure and urban renewal work within their jurisdictions.
Well, yeah, just the concept of city council and city planners have an idea and it's full speed ahead. They're required to, confer and present and confer in front of the commission, but we don't have any say. So we're just watching these little bites out of the general fund and the sheriff's rates and the 911 tax, and it's just kind of happening everywhere.
So you want it to go to the voters instead of us? I mean, because that's basically what this, if I'm tracking correctly, that's what this bill is saying is, you would put every single urban renewal project in front of the voters for a vote. And I mean, it basically, I think would probably kill this funding mechanism as a tool for our communities to fix our streets, put in needed water and wastewater infrastructure, and prepare the way for needed housing.
Well, and with the information we have, the fact that it may not go anywhere this session, it may kick off a work session, and as I said, a priority 2 support, showing that, hey, there's a discussion here. So that's my mindset.
I wouldn't vote for a support position, but if the 2 of you want to do that, you're welcome to.
Excuse me, Commissioner Chang, I haven't said a word yet. Not a word. Anyway, I would prefer to watch it. It sounded kind of like Representative Drazen was surprised that he even got a hearing. I think it's a concept that we should watch, but I don't think we need to support it at this time.
And that's kind of the same conclusion I'm coming to. It's something that's of interest to us, and just like I said, it sounds like it may kick off a discussion long term. So watch is fine also.
Watch is fine.
There we go, common ground.
Okay, so I'm marking that as a 2 watch then.
Or 3 watch until if you can go somewhere, but
I can mark as 3 watch, and then staff will get notification if there's any sort of movement on it, but it pulled it off of the report.
That's fine. See, there we go. Good
But
discussion.
I would honestly like to leave it on the report because it is a rather fascinating idea, because if things do go to the voters, I can say a lot of times they're going to say no. So I would leave it as a 2 just in case.
Just to keep
Sounds like there's
little
going to
eye
be,
on it.
it's going to sound like it's, what is that? Our room tax revenue bill that was killed by the lobby. And yet we were all kind of supporting it. So I would love to have it there to see it.
And that I'm supportive of that. As I say, this is just a conversation that may or may not even get anywhere. So we'll go with 2.
Is the room tax revenue bill dead? I didn't hear that that was dead yet.
Yeah, House Bill 3556 itself is dead, so it failed to move out of the House Emergency Management Committee. The request was that it be moved with no recommendation to the Revenue Committee, and none of us thought that would be difficult to just move it to the Revenue Committee, which is where it should have been in the first place. Orla launched an all-out campaign against the bill, against even consideration and discussion of the issue at all. And so they were able to kill the bill. I think there is going to be a discussion on additional flexibility for TLT that will occur anyway. And I think it's unlikely a bill will pass this session, but the issue and the discussion has been elevated to a certain extent.
Okay.
All right, we have one more topic for discussion on the report. It hasn't been flagged yet. It was flagged in a message earlier this morning. It's page 8, HB 2688. Lee wanted to provide an update on this, I believe.
Yeah, commissioners, thanks, Jen. Just wanted to bring this back to attention. I believe it's in Ways and Means, and we've been watching it. It would be impactful both for the road department and the facilities department on projects. It's an expansion of prevailing wage to certain types of offsite work. And so just wanted to raise that to everyone's attention.
So what's the status then? Ways and Means, so it's still alive. Is it scheduled for anything? I'm sorry.
Yes, I don't see in Bill Tracker, I don't see that it's scheduled for anything that I can see, but it is in Ways and Means still alive. Also, the other bill that we had been tracking, 2680, it appears that that will probably be passed. I think it's been through the third reading on the House floor, if I'm following that correctly. And that one's related to large glazing or window installations. It's a requirement for glazing contractors. So it does appear that one will go through, but we're still watching 2688.
Okay, got it. Well, and that prevailing wage on assemblies, sub-assemblies, offsite work is kind of the concept, and it'll just escalate the cost of everything. And we want a worker to get paid well, but the way it'll compound in there is the problem, probably.
Yeah, and I think there's some beyond cost. There is just some administrative ambiguity on how we would go about enforcing it. And at the state level, how the state would enforce it in BOLI. And then also just what it might do in terms of general contractors selecting subcontractors who are doing that work. There's a scenario under which it may actually drive some of that work out of state. And so that's an unknown, but it's a concern.
Okay, good. Yeah, so just even the logistics of implementing. Commissioner Adair.
Yes, thank you, Lee, for mentioning that word subcontractor. The Bend Airport had a project which they gave to a contractor outside of this area, and that contractor has failed to pay a couple of our local contractors, subcontractors, and I find it really upsetting. Caterpillar's owed $51,000, Avery Trucking's owed $4,800. I mean, these are local people that keep their money local, and yet the main contractor was selected out of the area. I'm hoping that there'll be a better outcome than what I've been hearing.
Great. Well, thanks for bringing that up, Lee, and we'll keep an eye on it. It's on our list.
Nothing else from me regarding the Bill Tracker report.
Okay, so the last couple of weeks, we thought we were going to have short meetings, and today we didn't announce that it might be a short meeting, but maybe it's a short meeting. Is there anything else?
No, Commissioner, I just simply say that from now until the end of the session, it's downhill and a snowball picks up speed as it heads downhill. At some point, we will go to 1 hour notice of hearings and work sessions. Things in Ways and Means, there will probably be very little posted until an hour before the work session. So it's kind of a very opaque process. I hope that this will be less opaque than previous sessions, but just stay tuned. There may be things that will come up at the very last minute, and we're not going to have any advance notice. We have quite an advantage this session in that most of our delegation is actually on the Ways and Means Committee. So we have an awful lot of folks from Central Oregon on the Ways and Means Committee, including Representative Levy, Representative Reschke, Representative Reeves-Iverson, et cetera, Senator McLean. So we have good representation on Ways and Means and in key areas. So I think these meetings are helpful, and we're keeping in touch with them on a regular basis. So hopefully we'll get some good information as we go forward.
Commissioner Adair.
I just have a question, Doug. When is the next revenue report going to come out? What day in May is that?
On or about May 15th.
Okay, May 15th. Okay. All right, because remember I did go to 42 offices for the $2.5 million ask for the Terrebonne sanitation final funding. And I'm just hoping, I don't want that to get lost. I'm just like, I could go back and visit them again.
Yeah, there will be an opportunity for public testimony in the Capital Construction Subcommittee for these types of projects. This morning, going on right now, is the Capital Construction Subcommittee hearing testimony on GO bonding, which is state bonds for state projects. But there will be an opportunity for lottery bond testimony at some point, probably on a Friday morning. We're keeping an eye on that. We'll let you all know as soon as that comes up, and that would be a good opportunity to sign up and testify.
Well, yeah, I'll be available to get Salem or be remote testimony on anything that comes up here in the next few weeks. I know that'll be important. One question, Association of Oregon Counties had a Senate floor opportunity. Commissioner Dare, Commissioner Chang, were you involved with that? I was not in Salem on Monday.
Yep.
Yes.
Tell me how that went. I didn't hear about it. So what's the status? How'd that go?
It was ceremonial.
Yeah.
We were introduced and then we were escorted out.
Oh, I see. Okay, well, congratulations.
Senator Brock Smith said very nice things about the importance of county government, for a couple of minutes. But yeah, I mean, we went in there to sit with the senators for a couple minutes, and then when Brock Smith's comments were done, we left.
Oh, okay, good. So well,
I would want to. Could I just say about that bill I mentioned earlier about the unemployment? In AOC's conversation that morning, they brought up that 75% of our 36 counties are really financially in very challenging moments. And they felt that if that legislation goes through, they would actually have to reduce their workforce in order to make a fund available to pay that. So yeah, county commissioners were incredibly concerned about it. It is now, it's a House vote. 2 Democratic senators actually voted against it, but it's now gone to the House. So I've talked to a few people about it. AOC overall is incredibly concerned. It will be further financial challenges.
What was that, Bill?
Oh gosh, what is the number?
What was the topic?
It's the unemployment for striking workers.
Oh yeah, okay, got it. Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry, I don't remember the number. Doug, do you?
916.
Oh yes, 916. Right. How could I forget that number?
Okay.
Bad me.
Got it. Okay. Anything else for this meeting? Any department heads, other elected? Seeing none. Meeting adjourned. Have a great day.